Okay, so welcome back. So now that you have a clear view of what your productized service will offer, you need a system. So how to handle payments, when they pay, how do you actually onboard them? Once onboarded, how will you be working with them? And what about communications? How will you do that? There is many ways of doing it. And in these lessons, I will be focusing on two of them. The first will be how to set up everything manually yourself, which is the scrappy way of doing it. And I will not recommend it for most people, but I think it's really good to understand how some productized services actually work, including one of the largest. And then we will be focusing on the second, which is how to get started easily, really fast with Orchestra, which of course I recommend because I made it, so I'm a bit biased, but I promise it's quite cool. Also, I wanted to emphasize that this is not a tutorial. It's more about me explaining the state of productized services and what's happening in this niche. Let's start with the manual way, or the more scrappy way of doing it. And just to be clear, I'm not saying doing that is bad by any means. This is just not something I would recommend. And I will explaining why. You know what? Let's explain this by telling again my story. Because yes, before building Orchestra, I in fact tried to create a productized service myself. So I'm a developer. Maybe you don't know that. And about 2 years ago, I got laid off. No worries, that's totally fine. I'm actually happy it happened. But I was working for a crypto company. The financial crash happened, and we all know the story. We was the first impacted by that, and I got laid off. At this time, my best mates heard about this guy, a guy running Design Joy, making 6 figures a month with a design agency, and so being solo, which was crazy to me. I quickly wanted to know more, and I took his course. I learned everything about it, how he started, how he does, and I wanted to replicate the same thing in my niche, which is coding. And actually, a lot of people did the same and tried to do the same value. So let's try to understand the classic design journey setup, because this is what most people try to replicate. So first, you accept payment using Stripe. If you don't know Stripe, Stripe is basically the main payment processor of the internet. If you paid online once, you've been using Stripe. And Stripe essentially generates a link that you can add anywhere on your website. In general, people add that on the button. It can be in the pricing section of the landing page. When the customer pays, you give them access to a Trello board. Once again, if you don't know Trello, Trello is just a way to, it's just a very minimal task management system that you can share with your customer. When a customer subscribes, they get a Trello board. So if you have 20 customers, you have 20 Trello boards. And each customer are responsible for moving tasks around in the process. So if they want a task to be done, they have to manually drag a task to the in progress column. And if there is no task there is no job to do for the agency, essentially. So every day, what he does is that he manually updates Airtable database to cross-reference the task that needs to be done. So he has manually to check every day if a new task needs to be done, essentially. So 20 customers, once again, 20 different boards to open, 20 entries to update in the database. Then now comes the pausing feature, which is, if you remember, one of the most important features for a productized service. Everything is done manually with the customers. He has to go into Stripe dashboards, do the thing manually, which can be, to be fair, a bit complicated when you don't know it, and that can be a bit error-prone. And then he has to manually update, again, in the database, the amount of days left on the subscription. So you have to calculate it manually and update the database. I don't want to say many bad things on this system, because this system actually works. There's agencies using it, big agencies using it, and a lot of people feel really comfortable with this setup. But it wasn't my case. And I couldn't see myself charge multiple thousands a month to a customer and work with them using a Trello board. I just couldn't. So I started to work on a software that will remove this manual work and let me focus on what matters most, providing an actual service. And this is what Orchestra is all about. You just connect your Stripe account to the platform, and then you get a system that works for you. you get a way to communicate with your customer, you get a way to work with them through tasks. And the cool thing is that you don't have to manage the onboarding part. So essentially what it means is that, like the other setup, you put a link on your website. When someone pays, they get automatically onboarded in the platform. And the cool thing is that you get a client portal, which is with your own custom domain, with your own branding, logo, and everything. So from your customer standpoint, from your landing page to the client portal when they start working with you, this is all the same website. This is almost if you created the software yourself, right? And when you think about it, this is a whole new experience. This is an experience which feels bespoke and really premium. And I think when you charge something like 5K to 8K a month, I think this is the little details that really, really matter. And actually, agency owner loves it. They love the fact that they can offer their own branding with the software they work with a customer. I don't want to spend hours talking about Orchestra, but something I can tell you is that there is a lot of agencies using it daily, and it just makes their life simpler. Like I said before, ultimately, what I believe is that when you sell a service, you should be focusing on selling the service, no focusing on the system. The system should be working for you automatically. And this is what I spent 2 years working on to make this software the best it can be. But don't take my word for it. What we can do, if you're ever interested by it, we can just book a call together, 15 minutes, no string attached, just like a casual conversation, you and me, and I can show you the software around. Okay, I won't be talking more about that, but ultimately the key element there is that you either do it yourself and you either have the knowledge to do it yourself and the time, or you can delegate that to a software like Orchestra to make your life simpler. One is not better than the others. It's just about you and what you need as an agency owner. Okay, that's it for this one.